You there, off the ship! The voice cut through the briny air like a blade. Sharp, authoritative, final. All motion on the pier froze. Tourists halted mid-step. Sailors paused, mid-conversation. Even the gulls above seemed to hang still in the air. The command came from a young officer in a flawless uniform, posture rigid with protocol. His eyes narrowed as he barked at the lone figure on the deck of the USS. Franklin, a retired warship, now serving as a floating museum. But for some, it was more than rusted steel and faded paint. It was sacred. The man he confronted stood tall despite the years written into his bones. His coat was threadbare, his shoes well worn. A cane rested lightly in one hand, more symbol than necessity. Though the medals were gone, their ghosts still clung to the fabric near his heart. He didn't speak. "Did you hear me, sir? This is a restricted area," the officer barked louder, hoping volume could drown out the silence. "You need to leave. Now." The old man's eyes didn't even flicker toward him. They wandered the deck, as if scanning memories instead of metal, as if listening to voices long silenced by time. His knuckles tightened ever so slightly on the cane. The officer noticed, and that only made him angrier. Whispers rippled through the small crowd gathering near the gangway. Some looked away. Others watched with bated breath. But no one intervened. "Do I need to call security?" The officer threatened, stepping forward. Still, no reply. His name was Thomas Reid. And that deck beneath his feet? It wasn't just part of an exhibit. It was a battlefield, a grave, a brotherhood forged in fire. Decades ago, barely out of boyhood, Thomas had clung to life on that very ship while kamikaze planes turned steel to shrapnel and sky to flame. He had pulled brothers from the wreckage, sometimes dragging what was left of them with trembling, blood-slicked hands. He had whispered comfort to the dying, knowing full well his words were lies. He had survived when others hadn't, and that too was a burden he still carried. So every year since its retirement, he came, quietly, unnoticed, just to be there, to remember, to mourn, to speak without speaking. But this year a new officer had taken post. Lieutenant Harper, fresh-faced, regulation-bound, obsessed with procedure. To him, Thomas was nothing but an intruder, a relic clinging to a past he didn't understand. "I won't ask again," Harper warned, chest puffed like a drumbeat of false courage. "You're trespassing." Thomas didn't resist, but neither did he retreat. His silence wasn't defiance. It was memory. It was grief. It was reverence. And then, footsteps echoed down the pier. One figure in dress blues appeared, then another, and another. Their medals gleamed in the afternoon sun as they climbed the gangway, silent and deliberate. At their head walked Commander Fields, a man whose service, record spanned continents, but whose loyalty stretched even further back to men like Thomas. He didn't look at Harper. He looked only at the veteran. Coming to attention, Fields offered a salute sharp enough to slice the air. Thomas slowly but steadily returned it. "What is this?" Harper demanded, voice cracking. The air shifted. His authority, once so rigid, wavered. Commander Fields turned, voice ringing clear. "This is Thomas Reid," he said, loud enough for all to hear. He stood on this deck when it burned. He carried his brother through fire. He watched them die so others could live. This ship remembers him, and so do we. A hush fell. Tourists lowered their phones. Sailors stood taller. Even the sea seemed to still. Lieutenant Harper had no response. His training hadn't prepared him for this kind of reverence. His badge, once a source of pride, suddenly felt too heavy to wear. Later that day, he was removed from his post. Some ranks are earned through time and sweat and sacrifice. Others crumble under the weight of misplaced pride. As Thomas turned to leave, a young sailor stepped forward to offer an arm. Thomas declined. He was steady, always had been, but he did place his hand on the sailor's shoulder. Just for a moment. A quiet gesture. A passing of the torch. Not all heroes need medals. Not all battles leave scars you can see. Some men carry history in their silence, in their presence, in their return to the places where they bled, where they loved, where they lost. And some honors? They can't be stripped. They live in steel, in memory, in the very air around them. The ship remembers, and now, so do we. To those who serve, to those who endure, to those who remember. Where are you reading this from? What does this story stir in you? Leave a comment and share it with someone who knows the weight of silence.